How you doing, Larry? Dr. Larry Goodman?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome
Good
back
morning.
to post Hurricane Irma. And we've also been blessed to be spared Maria, but our prayers and hopes go out to all the people who are still being pounded by her.
Yes.
And an amazing thing.
Very amazing thing. And that happens to be Martin Casado hosting this here with Dr. Larry Goodman. That is the topic that I did want to speak today on, the actual anxieties of the pre and the post of certain hurricanes that happen. We happen to be natives here in Florida and Miami, and I went through it in West Palm. But we've lived through many hurricanes and done many of these things. And I wanted to stay on the topic of talking about the whole anticipation of it. I want to talk about things of even hurricane versus other natural disasters, tornadoes and earthquakes. I mean, so certain topics like that I want to get to.
And don't forget the hurricanes we create in our own minds.
Right. That's
real or imagined, past or present, near or far.
Right. Very true. So, and these kind of things, what I want to do is, there's a lot of, especially being in Florida and getting communication from outside of Florida and the rest of the U.S. and the world, that we have family and stuff like that. Seeing it from an outside perspective, it looks like the end of the world, right? This massive cyclone is just going in circles and it's heading towards us. And then we have these spaghetti string things.
So the 24-hour news cycle has created an elongated period of anticipation as to what's going to happen. And it's interesting that locally, how that shows up is people started buying stuff and provisions like a week before, as compared to, for instance, an earthquake where you get very little warning.
Right.
In the course of that time, that week building up to it, arguably, some people left, some people didn't. Some people prepared, some people didn't. The magnitude of the anxiety, probably several times greater than would have been if it just came upon us.
Right.
That being said, if you can use anxiety as jet fuel to take action, then by all means use it. But for most people, the quality of their decision making and the quality of their actions is inversely related to their level of anxiety.
Right.
And so doing things to be grounded, deep breathing, meditation, even something as simple as reminding yourself that, in my case, we weathered the storm relatively safely because we have impact windows and a Category 5 rated roof. And so the only real damage to the house was we lost power for a while and had to replace our food. Right.
Well, that's the whole thing, right? Is growing up in Florida and growing up in these kind of circumstances, we have these fair warnings way before, the anticipation of it coming, the projections of it. We get warning signs, the other people with tornadoes or earthquakes, they don't get anything, right? It just happens. So
right.
I don't know what's, just it happens and deal with it, or have this anxiety of it coming, seeing the hurricane, watching it every day, watching the news, watching the.
I think there's benefits and detriments to each, you know. If you look at what's going on, again, just to stay topical and in the news, if you look at what's going on in Mexico City because of those earthquakes, and you compare that to California, what you see is the difference in having a more stringent building code to deal with earthquakes versus a more relaxed and liberal one.
Well, there's also, that infrastructure, but in 1985 or 86, it killed over 10,000 people in Mexico City.
Yes.
And now they had about 200 and stuff. I'm not saying and none are better or worse, but it's, you know, I think they have prepared for, they have, I mean,
Sure.
my parents are from Chile, and I've been in a tremor on a 19th floor, and it's the scariest thing I've ever seen. Like, your whole world just moves, you know, and you're like, what? You don't, I can't even comprehend it. All you see is the fan moving. It's terrifying, you know? So, but back to the topic on the hurricanes, because it's something that's been present, and also that earthquake just hit in Mexico, and then right now Maria is hitting over and just passed through Puerto Rico and just did massive destruction. In a preparation style, when you look online and stuff to deal with this kind of thing, and I don't even know what source, this is in the Anxiety Depression Association of America, so, and severe storms, how to reduce your anxiety, and they have a kind of prepare list, kind of like create a plan, a well-prepared plan for your family so you can reduce anxiety and chaos before, during, and after. Being informed, stay up to date on the weather information and warnings, talk it out, share your fears with your family members, friends, counselors, and others who can make emotional or can offer emotional support. Find more on how to strengthen your emotional, accept what you can't control. Nobody can control that path of the storms and the damage. So where I want to show is that all these things are well and good, and I understand these projections coming, but being from Florida and growing up, I mean, we've both been through Andrew, and even in 2004, we had a whole string of them come through here, and, you know, near miss
Wilma
and Matthew and all these different ones. Matthew never hit. But I'm saying we have experience in it and that. And then you have people from the outside in the rest of the U.S. that sees the news, calls you and tells you, like, you need to get out now. Because it's fear-based. They're watching the same thing that we are, and it's a total tragedy and so forth. But, you know, we've been through these kind of things. We've been through these experiences. We have, you know, even to get back into town to see the aftermath is a whole other anxiety. So it's, some of us have little kids and little ones. I've seen my friends went all the way to South Carolina and Georgia during these times. And I get that part. And you should do that things. But a lot of our, like you said, a lot of our things are sound structures. The windows are hurricane proof. Like, we're prepared for these kind of, I don't know if we're prepared for a level 5, but other than that, you know, you literally go into a utility room and we have mattresses on our head and hoping for the best. And I think in this case, even the surge is what's even more dangerous, and not more dangerous, just as dangerous. The surge coming in and the water levels going really high. So all in all, it's all scary. But I think what we have to do, what I do, and the majority of, in my case, I think I had my father has other properties and stuff like that, and they're on the water, and you have to go prepare for all these things, right? I had to go prepare. We had to, and then you have the shutters and the whole nine. It's a lot of work. The post or the pre part.
Well, and in a way, doing that work keeps you busy, keeps you occupied, and that is another solution to a means of managing your anxiety, is to take action. Because in the midst of being powerless over the things that you can't control, it's beneficial to work to have control over the things that you can't.
Right.
So, you know, as opposed to just sitting and watching and waiting.
Yeah. I think that's the worst part. I think there's a certain point that we got to that we're like, I was using one called ventusky.com, and it's very accurate weather patterns. And it's really because going to the news, it was just constant fear-based. And I get it, the fear-based, but they need to do that because you're dealing with a whole, you know, masses of people.
They've done studies on the impact in anxiety of hurricanes that have landfall overnight versus the ones that have landfall during daylight. And markedly less anxiety during the ones let me get it right, overnight. Because you can't see.
You can't see it, right?
You can't see. So you just you hear the sounds, and it's the unknown.
Yeah, I remember Andrew being in my closet of my bedroom. We all went to our bed. My bedroom was like in the center, so we were all in there. And I remember hearing, you know, number one, my dad said it could go out. We're all meteorologists in Florida, by the way. We all know precipitation, the feeder bands. We all become meteorologists.
Right.
My dad said it was not going to hit in 1992. It's not going to hit. It's going to go to the right, go to the left, like everybody says before, all pre. But then it actually went direct hit. And then in the closet, you would just hear you would hear tornadoes forming, woo, 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 like crazy noises, things hitting the wall. It's ferocious, it is and it's scary, because at any moment something can pop. So, and I even know kids afterwards, like 2 years later, I remember my neighbor came by and he was a little kid. He was like 6 years old, and his house was like down south of Kendall where we were. And that's where the direct hit. And they were literally in their bathroom with a mattress and the roof fell off. So any storm that came by, the little kid would be like, he'd get scared in our house. He got scared in a thunderstorm. He's like, the storm's going to come. It's going to take us. It's going to take the roof. The little kid went full anxiety. So it's a real thing, so my point is,
there are tools to use once you've been sensitized. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a real thing.
Right.
It's real. And
Absolutely.
and it's significant enough when there's a small stimulus. So when there's a large stimulus, it becomes much more challenging to talk yourself out of a heightened reaction, especially when the world is in fact having the heightened reaction anyway.
Right.
So yes, deep breathing, meditation, tapping, emotional freedom technique, NET, a lot of different tools that can be used to reduce the level of anxiety so that you can be more functional.
Well, that's absolutely true. I kind of went in this recent hurricane that we got with Irma. What category did it come into Miami? About a 3?
I think so.
It's about a 3. And then it went up the coast there. You just got to, have the preparations, your gas, the water, so forth. Even people were freaking out there wasn't bottled water, but in any kind of emergency case, we should be able to get our own water from our faucet. People were just freaked out, but it's part of the process. Go out and get prepared, do your shutters, do all those things, and go with family members that, and be collectively together.
Well, that's the other, at the risk of speaking of the benefit of these natural disasters, if you want to call it that.
Right.
The benefit to them is they do tend to bring people together.
Absolutely.
They do tend to bring out the best in people. One of the things that was most noticeable after Harvey was that people rescued people regardless of race, regardless of religious affiliation. You didn't hear a single story of anybody in a rescue boat who passed anybody by and left them because they had the wrong skin color.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's ironic that natural disasters tend to bring out the best in us.
Right.
As compared to really when we have too much time on our hands and are really in too much luxury, that we then tend to get very prejudiced and very hostile, and we become our own worst enemies instead of being each other's best friend.
Right. That is an interesting fact, and it's so true. I mean, even with Andrew, and even now with Irma, you meet your neighbors, you go outside, everybody assesses the situation, everybody comes together. Even in the neighborhood, I went to a neighborhood next Lantana, that's helping walk the owner's dog, and I met all the neighbors. Came up, hey, how did you hold off? Oh, hey, we're holding a community effort, and we all please clean your neighbor's yard and do this. Can we let's just do this together as it came a community whole. And that's what I saw all over the place. I had to go down to the Keys about mile marker 90, and that it was just going through there. It hit the hardest through like 70s and the lower Keys. The upper Keys were didn't get as bad, but it did get bad. It had a surge about 3 to 4 feet, and the surge is what really destroyed most stuff. Lifted up docks, threw out the boats everywhere. But what I did see is in a form of what we were talking earlier about a purge, right? Like all these things, when I went down there, I was like, on this aftermath, it kind of showed like all the trees being cut down and all these things. It cleaned up everything. It was like a mess that we needed to clean, but just never gets cleaned. And now all of a sudden it's all cleaned up. Like all that thing, like, hey, honey, go and do the lawn and do all these things that I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next year. Never happened. This made a mandatory happening of all this.
My wife's father used to say about hurricanes that they were God's way of trimming trees.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Yeah. That's absolutely what I saw. I mean, my whole from Palm Beach all the way down to the Keys, it was just a clearing. People were cleaning up. People were together. It was everybody. You're right. There was no race. There was no separation. It's like, let's just get this job done and get our lives back to normal.
So the lesson that there is, that the hurricane or any other disaster really winds up teaching us, is to give and to be kind.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the message, I think.
I agree. I mean, it definitely brings people together in a unity without barriers, I guess you can say.
Yep.
And then I had some other things here during the season. I always say this is also like the price of living in paradise, right? We don't have these harsh winters that people talk about, but we do have these hurricanes, and they're scary. I mean, when do they begin? Season begins around April or?
April, May, or June.
Yeah, I think it's about like May to November is our period of that. So yeah, they are scary things. And, another thing that I think helped with the anxiety is not watching the news every 5 minutes, right? We would do like incrementally, see it in the morning, see the next update and stay to that, right? Because
Exactly.
if you watch that nonstop, it's just disastrous. And even during the hurricane, there's certain parts that aren't getting hit so bad, but the reporters need to show something. And they've shown reports where they're actually moving the palm tree, just to show action, just to show ratings, right?
Well, somehow, somewhere, it got decided, I don't know when ago, that there was something theatrically beneficial about putting somebody in rain gear and having them stand out in the storm, in the front of the camera, so you could see them getting blown to bits and soaked.
Right.
Like that's that makes the report more authentic.
More authentic, yeah. And it can also go viral if a piece, because one of the biggest things, especially in Florida, we think it's so beautiful to have Spanish tile, but then that's one of the biggest trajectories that go flying into your window or break things, you know what I mean? So I think another thing, as far as approaching this, staying here, because you have so many people saying, why are you here? Why didn't you take off? You're risking your family and this, at the same time, I took it as a Zen approach. Like, we secure our place. We have all the things that we need, water, supplies, so forth. Exactly. And then take everything as it comes. If the window starts vibrating, move the family over to the left. If the water starts coming in through under the door, put a little sandbag or put something over. Be there in the aftermath. You know what I mean? During and the aftermath. So that's all you can do, right? Is to go, because then if you do take off, you're in 30 hours of traffic. You're in all these. There's no gas. There's no this. That's even on top of the anxiety, even more anxiety.
Yes.
So
and automobile accidents. And
there was people that actually died in the accident.
Of other horror.
Some people actually died in car accidents. There was like 2 or 3 in this one, right? So I mean, even everything can be formed into a fear base, right? At the end of the day,
there's love and there's fear,
right.
and the loving thing to do is just to know that this too shall pass. You do the best you can. And trust the process, and it's a demonstration of the opportunity to cultivate resilience, really.
Right. Absolutely. And that's all we can do in resilience. Either you stay or you can leave, or you take your family. This was a close one. I mean, it was a direct hit in a sense. But yeah, if I had like a family and a bunch of kids, I would have flown out and done or left here. But then again, I probably wouldn't. If I had my house here and it was secure and I built the foundation, I would stay as well. But I'm in Miami, and I think I would actually stay and help the community and help whatever I can.
That's the opportunity,
right?
And I think to I don't know where we are on time, but as far as
like 4 minutes.
Message,
yeah, we're good.
The message that I would like to put out is that even crisis is opportunity in disguise.
Yeah.
That even in the midst of something of the magnitude of a hurricane gets to be the catalyst for a massive amount of public outpouring of support and love and kindness for one another.
Yeah.
And I think that it's unfortunate that it takes those sometimes to remind us that we're all in this together.
Right.
And we're all in this together.
We are all in this together. And yeah, I mean, even the rest of the world seeing what's happening here, it's I think it kind of they see that in themselves, right? Like,
Yep.
wow, this is really happening. This could happen to us if we live there. So
Yep.
there is the message. At least they are seeing the after effects and the post part that, there is unity, there is people helping, there's people that go out of the way to give clothing, food, and create funds. And that's all we can really do, right? And help each other out.
Yep.
So I hope that gave some advice from, I guess, locals per se that get hit often, and understand that there are ways, that if you leave or you stay, just prepare and be whatever comes, staying in the moment means like whatever comes, windows shaking, this shaking, giving water to the neighbors. That's just your job at hand. Yep. So I don't know, any other closing moments, questions or answers?
We're here to serve. Always here to serve. Any questions, you know how to reach us.
Right.
The Goodman Factor.
This is the Goodman Factor. Here's Dr. Larry Goodman, myself, Martin Casado, and we'll have more information on the link below. And this is just a little thing on the hurricanes and how it affects us as locals. So thank you for listening, and there'll be more to come. Take care, Larry. Talk to you later.